Okay, going live just before the US session open. I've got one order on so far, and what I'm trying to do is build some content with trading oil here. So I've got it on another screen on my oil futures account with NinjaTrader, and then an equivalent trade for a range breakout with oil USD, WTI crude oil. So I'm just trading this range breakout. The bias depth heat map's all green. We've got a bias of green on the opening range, and it will probably take a catalyst of the US Open for actually to get this going. There's a lot of fresh air all the way up to this confluence zone. So that's a combination of the 60 and the 30-minute resistance zones there. So that's quite powerful there. So that's where that take profit is in there. Just this is a small account. So for forex traders, predominantly have reasonably small accounts. So the equivalent dollar size to this particular trade is $1.20, because this is where it's like trading a micro futures contract, if you like. Whereas on my futures, I've put an order on here for 2 contracts above that same range. Now the price is slightly different because again, that's a CFD. This is futures. This is a real price of oil futures right now. So you just got to be aware that there's going to be a slight difference in price. Not a lot, but a little. So that's what we got. That's the only orders I've got on now. One for futures, one for on a forex account. I've got all of these other sort of forex pairs on here. Also gold as well. We can see on gold here we've had some pretty good trades last week with confluence coming this short down here, bounced off this 6-minute zone and a nice long here. It's been pretty muted this morning during the European Open. There was potentially a trade there, but I didn't take it. Right now, we've had the New York Gold Pit open. It's pushed up through there, but I'm looking for this resistance to hold, really. The only trade I'm really interested in is if it comes back down through this New York Gold Pit open around about this sort of price here. And I would look to take profit in and around this data point. But we have got data as well at the top of the hour. So at 10 a.m. EST, we've got data as well. As you can see here, I've got this data point here, so I can measure the 10 minutes before data, and I can look for a reaction to data as well. So that's an opportunity for me there to trade that. I'm also going to do that on futures as well. So just looking at my futures chart now. Yeah, these are the 2 monitors are a different resolution, so I've got to adjust my chart. So I won't be dragging it and dropping it over all the time now. It's just too much hassle. I'll just probably to take a screenshot and show the screenshot. It's easier. So yeah, with the gold futures, I'm looking at that for a potential trade, really, as a reaction to data. So it's a data play, and that's what I'm looking for there, and nothing else really. Okay. Just want to make sure that I am live on YouTube because I've got this feeling it's not working. Yes, it is working. Okay. So this oil trade remains good. Well, the setup does. I'm not in the trade yet. As long as the bottom of the range isn't broken. Okay. So since the open, this is the opening range. This red candle here, even though the bias was green. As long as it doesn't break the lower bound of this opening range, I'm pretty good. All 6 time frames are green on here. We've just had the US market open now, so my order's been filled for the futures, and it's also been filled for this as well. With futures, I've just got to put my applying ATM strategy.
Order filled.
Yeah, you can hear that. So on the futures, I've put a stop at 57.76. And then take profit at 58.90. Slightly different. It's just slightly underneath this there. Again, slight differentials in price between a CFD broker like this and the true price that futures give you there. So that's those trades there. Let me just check what I've got as far as the MA is concerned here. Is that 21? Yeah. I wonder if I could be a little bit more aggressive with this, with a 13. Yeah. Okay. So those two. They're on. See what oil's done from the open. It has hit that resistance zone there, but I'd need these to turn red. And really, I'm only interested in gold on this play for data, which is at the top of the hour. I have to make some decisions on the oil trade before that data, because obviously it could be a large reaction to that. So data today is PMI, so it's volatile data, so that will affect the US dollar, which in turn, even though there's Venezuela going off at the moment for oil, it will affect oil because of that correlation with the US dollar. So we've got to be very, very conscious when we're in a trade going into data. Is, you know, there's choices to make. Do we take a little bit of profit? Has it moved enough to make it risk-free and let it play, or do we just leave the stock where it is? We'll see what happens where the price action is at that sort of time, and make that decision at that point. It does need to move probably 15, 20 ticks before we make it risk-free, and it's at the moment it's had a move of, let me just measure that on futures chart. Since entry, only 9 ticks. It's still in a slight bit of profit on the futures. The reason why it's shown red on this CFD chart is because the spread. CFD brokers make their money from the spread, whereas a futures trader makes their money from a fee to enter the trade. It's simple as that. The problem is with forex brokers is that spread can change during the day, and you're not necessarily told that. So you will always be. It's not well, it's sort of manipulation, but they are a business. They make their money from the spreads. So you've got to be just conscious that that's how they make money. If you're trading money with trading with futures, the price is the price. There's no spread. That's the price. Comes directly from CME, and the broker just makes their $12 or whatever it is to get into that trade. Obviously, when you've got forex traders, most of those are trading with smaller accounts. This account size is just under $1,500, for example, that I use just for education purposes, really. Whereas futures trading accounts are a lot bigger, and you can trade 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 contracts depending on the amount of margin that you've got. So you just got to be aware to recognize that the spread can change during the day. feel free, if you're watching, just to ask any questions in the chat. Doesn't matter where you're watching it, it'll come up on my restream here. So we have Euro Japanese yen has just tested. So we've moved down, we've pulled back, and we've tested this zone of price here. Not really interested in taking another trade on this or many others really until we get the data. That's my sort of line in the sand really. I wanted to take oil on the oil breakout strategy. That's fine. Just need to be where data is a little later. And you know, it was pretty textbook in the defined a range. It took the catalyst of the US market open and therefore the movement of US dollar to get us into that trade, which was pretty good. The risk is only small, it's only 31 ticks. So my futures trade, that's $620, so that's a small risk. With this, I think it worked out at, let me just, I saved the image. Where did I save the image? Downloads. Yeah, so that's the wrong one. With this image here, this is what I took before the order went on. With this amount of units, 100 units, it equated to around about 2.69% risk with a reward of 5.51. So the risk to reward is there. I was only risking $38 on a $1,400, whereas the futures trade is the account size is about $150,000. That means that I'm only risking, you know, 620. Let's do it. Let's do a calculation. Let's get a calculator out and look at that. So, no, that's calendar, not a calculator. So, %4. Yeah, something like that. 0.4%, sorry, just under 0.5%. So you can see the massive difference there depending on account size, balance, and whether you're trading futures or whatever. So about 0.4%, which is okay. That's fine. We're low volume in this week when we're all back trading, if you like. So we just got to be aware of that. Got open the New York Stock Exchange opening range now coming on the US dollar CAD on the bottom chart here. Just going green. The problem is I don't want to go long into this resistance, so there's no trade there. So that's going to be a no-show for me. Swiss franc, a lot of resistance up there. The bias is bullish. So in reality, I'm not going to look for a long trade into all of that noise. Just that's the rule, basically. US dollar Japanese yen, again, we're having an opening range right in between this support and resistance, just not worth the risk, as it were. Even a data play on Euro US dollar, for example, we're stuck in this support and resistance zones, really. Unless it starts to move up and we get an opening range play. So we can set that up. We can actually, on the opening ranges here, I can add data. So I can go to a custom range here and put data. And we want 950 because I want to measure the 10 minutes before data and look for a reaction. I'm just going to show those labels. So when that happens, it's just a little one up here from previous day, but it will come in at this point here. So Euro US dollar gold could be a play on the data, but we'll measure the 10 minutes before the range before that data so we can make a decision. Euro, US dollar. British pound, Japanese yen looks very scrappy, nothing there. So US dollar, Swiss franc, we've had an opening range, and basically it's what we call neutral. So it's got a yellow bias for the opening range there. So we could, in theory, have a straddle trade if there wasn't data coming out in around 20 minutes, where we put a long and we put a short on. So we'd straddle it to see which one it goes, but we wouldn't take the long anyway. We wouldn't put the long on because of all this resistance. We'd take the short. Risk to reward is around, if there wasn't data, I'd be looking for a short right now. 1 to 1.6 into that support. That's the sort of trade you should be looking for a straddle type trade. So a straddle usually is you'll put a long above the opening range and a short below, and whichever's taken in, that's your trade. But in this case, I wouldn't want to take the long because we're into resistance, so the short would be the only option there. However, I'm aware data's coming out, so I'm not going to take that trade. And we've got very similar with the US dollar CAD. We've got that neutrality there. It's just turning bullish slightly. You can see the color change in there. And the same with the US dollar Japanese yen. That's all changing now. But we just got to be waiting and patient, really, because we have that data. So what happens is we measure the price action and the bias with the range breakout strategy, the 10 minutes leading up to data. And then we can make a decision whether we're going to go with the flow or we're going to look for a trend reversal. For example, with gold, I would probably on a trend reversal on the data doing something to the US dollar, and because gold is right at this resistance now, I'd look for a short, but I want to see the size of that opening range first of that data. So just got to be I mean, that's what I'm looking for there. Euro, US dollar, I'm probably looking for the long. Yeah, but again, I don't know until we see what's going off there. I don't have a great deal of bullish bias down the buy step theme map, so I'm probably not going to be looking for that as well. First day back, really. This first week is always going to be a little bit lower volume. But we will, we've got to start getting into it, got to start understanding behavior. This is why those risks are quite small for me on these two trades that are open. One on futures, one on CFDs for oil. The risk is low because the volume is going to be low. And I really don't know, we're getting close now, almost 15, just over 15 minutes to that data. I have to rely on the data to push this up here because it's just not moved because the volume's not there. On another day where we're not waiting for that data, that range breakout is bullish, the buy step's bullish, it's just above a 60-minute zone. This oil on a day without data that's the trade. Okay, we've got plenty of time, we've got plenty of fresh air, we've got the confirmation. It's a textbook trade. We use I mean, a lot of the time after the oil opening range, we go in on the next candle. One of my rules for the automated strategy builders on for the range breakout on NinjaTrader is that it has to go in on the next candle. If it doesn't go in the next candle, I cancel the order. But in this situation, because we've got that data coming, I knew it would be pretty slow. So I wanted to see if the catalyst of the US market open at 9:30 a.m. EST would be enough to push it into the trade and get that momentum going. It was enough to push us into the trade, but it wasn't enough to get the momentum going. So really I have to wait for the data to come out now and see what happens. So probably just going to do an hour today. I came on just before the US Open. Depends if there's many trades. And then we'll see that data come through 10 a.m. EST and just probably do another half an hour and start slowly, see if we can probably come on to maybe 3 times a week, depending on my schedule, to do some live trading and some live analysis on stocks as well. I'll be using the Stocks Predator quite a bit to look at some stocks. But again, we're quite early on with the Stocks Predator here, so we just got to be mindful that we need some price action to happen. This is on my CVNA's on my watch list, for example. This wave 4 pullback on Elliott wave. If that holds and starts to move up during this week, there could be a good trade there, a good swing trade. Others are, I think, did I look at full confluence here? 2, 3 green. Oh, no, not 3 red, 3 green. There was, where was it now? Can't find it. There's not many, and we just got to wait. I think a couple of days. So maybe if I can come back Wednesday, there might be a better option there for us. So this lack of price actions to two things to do with the volume. First day back for a lot of people, and some people may have extended that Christmas period holiday as well. And I'm talking institutional traders here. I'm not talking retail traders. It would take out millions of retail traders to actually move something. Plus also, there's always low volume going into a big data point. And the data point we have today, with PMI, manufacturing PMI, it is big data. Okay, so most people aren't prepared to stick their neck out before data. They would rather wait for data reaction, then trade either reaction or give it 15 minutes after data, see if trends continued or they've been reversed, and then look for trades after that, because that will be the catalyst today, unless it's totally neutral. The Venezuela, did it do much? Really? Not really. We were pretty range bound on the open on Sunday. We did try and come down, then we come back up again. So it's not really, that's not really affected oil so much. Not a lot of fresh air, and a lot of that support and resistance zones when you get low volume periods like Christmas, between Christmas and New Year, is that we don't move very far, so we start to form some shorter term resistance and support zones that are quite close to each other. We need a catalyst like data today to push through a few, get some cancelled, and sort of reset that operational landscape. If we get neutrality with this data, then we're going to be going to have to wait for something else later on in the week. I think it's Friday then. Really, JOLTS job openings on Wednesday, and PMI again, ISM services PMI. So Wednesday, we could have some good catalysts here. Balance of trade on Friday for Germany could get things going in the European morning. And then obviously we've got non-farm payrolls and everything like that on Friday for the US. So, big catalysts this week, hopefully get things moving, and so we can get some good trades in there. We see Euro US dollar trying to push through into this 60 right now. Get through. We're pretty neutral on the bias depth heat map here. We got 2 green, 2 yellow, 2 red. So there's no sort of real defined direction, but we would see the range coming up in less than 30 seconds. We'll start to measure that 10-minute period of time. So that could be interesting. For a potential long on that data reaction. Not interested in the short coming into all this rubbish. So that could be interesting there. I don't tend to trade Euro, Japanese yen, or British pound, Japanese yen on data, or even the Aussie dollar really. GBP maybe, but we've got a lot of support and resistance in there. GBP US dollar. We could look for the short there. That would be a reversal of this massive confluence of 60-minute zones. But if euro US dollar goes long, we're not going to go short GBP US dollar because they usually go the same direction. The correlation is quite strong there because obviously they're pegged to the US dollar. So I'm not interested in the long on GBP. US dollar CAD stuck in the middle of all of that. There's the US dollar Swiss franc, but that was the straddle that I talked about here because we got that neutrality on that range. There could, that trade was that trade. If there was no data today, that I would be in this short right now, but I'm not because of the data. When we start to measure for that data, there's not a lot of fresh air to trade into there. So the data windows have started to print now for gold. Here you can see the labeled data here, and it's starting to define that range. Most likely, if that range continues to be here, I'll probably look for the reversal in and around this price below the 60-minute zone here. Just a quick trade on the data reaction. And again, we're the same on euro US dollar here. We do have a 5-star buy forming on the xBrat algo here as well. So could be good there. Usually gold and euro US dollar goes the same direction as well. So we've got to be careful here. But in reality, we've got to make sure we break this European opening range. So there's not a great deal of risk to reward to that resistance zone. So I'm not going to take it. Everything else looks reasonably neutral for now. Oil's doing nothing, it's waiting for data. So we have to wait. No, the euro US dollar long is going to. So opening ranges also act as shorter term support and resistance. You can see how we had the opening range here, came down to test this confluence of 13 6-minute zones, came up back into the range. It didn't push through and it came back down again. We don't want that scenario in this trade when we get a data reaction. It might be muted. So we want to make sure we've got complete fresh air. So that's off the table right now. So the only thing I'm interested in really is a potential reversal on gold, but we do have those previous support and resistance zones, opening ranges here as well, which is really going to sort of affect this move. So a reversal there is going to be very, very difficult to trade because this is going to act as support and so is this. At the moment, gold is pushing higher and higher. I'm not going to take the long in amongst all of this. My main job is to find reasons not to trade. So at this moment in time, only really, I've got no confluence that's setting up on any futures right now. Nowhere near. There's just not been enough volume and price action to get things going there. It's very neutral across crypto, forex, and futures commodities right now, which is not unusual for this time of year. First trading day back after the Christmas New Year period. It's always going to be a little slow. Gold's still pushing up. Sometimes I like to trade breakouts of these support and resistance zones, but today is not the day. Just under 5 minutes before the data comes out. Really interesting to see how US dollar Swiss franc fares on this data reaction. Because in reality, if we're looking at gold here on the gold reversal on data, we're looking for a sell in and around this price here. Take profit sort of in that zone there, but our stop loss has to be above the opening range here. So why would you risk, say, $29 for $17? When I have these data reactions, I really load up and look for a quick scalp. So I would load up even more if I was trading futures, lots more contracts. It just, there's too much noise in the way there. Even in theory, looking for a breakout of here, there's just not a lot of room to the next sort of resistance zone. So the data reaction trades today are not on the cards, I don't think. Just going to observe. Just want to check on ES. I'm just looking on my ES chart at the moment on another screen. The data range at the moment is 56 ticks. There's nothing to the upside except for resistance at 6960. A short scalp, but again, it's a big risk. I'd rather like a very small. We're very bullish on YM at the moment as well, and on RTY. So I'd be quite reluctant to trade the data reaction. I'd probably look for a long on RTY actually. Let me put that order on RTY. 3 contracts, stop market. I'm going to go 2549.6, 2549.6. The stop's going to be quite tight at 2537.6 because that's we're overlapping the zone right now. So I'm just going to show you that. I'm going to take a screenshot because I've got different resolutions on different screens and it's just a nightmare when I move it over. So I'm just going to take a screenshot. It's easier and then I can black out the account number. So with RTY, what we're looking for is that sort of candle here, but what I'm looking for is a breakout here, reaction to the data above this high at 2549.6. This is a confluence of 15 and 30-minute zones here, so the stop would be just below this zone as well. So I'm looking for one direction, if you like, to trade there. What we got? So I need to put that stop market order on now for
order submitted.
There. So reaction's been muted-ish. There's no instant move, but so the bullish move on gold has still continued. And euro US dollars picking up pace to the upside. We can see this Swiss franc trade here. So oil's going against me right now. That was the risk with the data. We will see. Nothing I can do about it now. I'm just a passenger. See, this trade actually then gathered momentum from that straddle trade. I'll learn from this for this particular forex pair. That's quite good. Let me just have a look at the futures equivalent on 6S. Not a great deal of room there, to be honest. That's no good. So there wasn't a massive reaction, really. Not one of these big piping moves. Just wasn't there. We've just had that continuation with gold. So there's no big reaction. I've got the order on with RTY. It's not taken me in yet. The other NQ is very, very neutral, but it does seem to be wanting to push up, which is pretty good. So RTY is very close to going in now.
Order filled.
Okay, that's in. Just got to put the stop on and everything.
Order filled.
There. And there. Okay, so I'll just take a quick picture. And don't need to copy it. It's there. Okay. So again, that was my stop market order. Stops just below this support and resistance zone, 2537.7. And my take profit is right at the beginning of this confluence of 60 and 30 and 15-minute zones there. So it's quite a big zone. So that's where we are with that. Gold's still pushing. And the euro US dollar is pushing. So this US dollar CHF just tipped that support zone there. So that straddle trade was in hindsight, and hindsight's not a trading strategy, but the straddle trade was the way to go with this one, and looking for that short and coming down to that point there, pretty good. Oil's going against me right now. RTY is in profit at the moment, and that's pushing quite nice. Where CL's coming against me. Yeah, CL's I'm going to get taken out of CL very shortly. Maybe not. We'll see. Look at that gold. And euro US dollar. There's just not a great deal of room up there. Stop would have to be all the way down here. So our risk reward, in theory, would have been around about 1 to 0.9 or something like that. Okay, so been taken out of oil for a a loss of around whatever, $600. RTY is going well. That's about 350 in profit right now. So what I'm looking for really is to use this RTY to neutralize that loss on oil. And that's the strategy today. Just check on NQ how that's moving. Okay. So on forex, that would be I'm trying to find it now. Russell. Okay. So that would be the Russell trade. RTY is the Russell. What are we on there? 10. So again, this is slightly different. So the current price is around 2546.9 on, but this is 2520 because this is a CFD. Okay, this is it's the difference with the CME. With RTY, it's a set price. With this, it's not. Is this a decent trade? If it comes back out through this sort of entry, my interest. So it's around about here. Sometimes it takes some time to really see the differences with this. So if I'm going to put a long on here, a long stop order, I'd need to be at that sort of price, really. So I'm just going to leave that. US dollar CHF looking really good there. Look, really came down well. Gold has pushed through that zone now, going quite slowly. And Q starting to push up. Same with, well, ES is a bit slow. YM is pushing. All four indexes look reasonably bullish right now. You see the spread here change. So it's 0.5, 0.6, 0.5. Yeah, that's the spread in your order ticket there. You see it? No, not available on the DOM. Yeah, this particular broker doesn't do US 2000. that particular CFD. You see how, so these are the Guardian zones are not available yet for TradingView, although this is TradingView. These are our sort of trial versions. We've already got it on NinjaTrader for a lot of people. But you can see how it tipped off here again. That confluence of zones really, really strong. Always a good opportunity to take profit when it hits one of those zones. Nothing's going nowhere fast. YM still looks, so the Dow still looks pretty strong, bullish. Same with NQ. ES, big doji candle on the 15, or two big doji candles, 15 and 15. Doesn't really want to push. I think for the RTY trade, we'd need full correlation between all indexes to push in that same direction. That's not happening right now. So this could be a really long trade with this low volume. Again, my confluences, there is literally more yellow. So I'll bring that over. There's more yellow than anything anywhere, okay? Nothing really getting close. Even crypto, you can see here with forex, it's mainly yellow. It's all neutral. So it's one of those days where you don't really put much at risk. And for me, I was looking for an index to really trade that data reaction to offset the risk with oil. So the oil was a losing trade. I don't win every single trade. And what I'm trying to do is use that bullish momentum. RTY had fresh air, so using that to look for that long to basically neutralize that initial loss. Still not put too much at risk as far as the account size is concerned on the futures there. So I just need to wipe my feet today and come back tomorrow fighting again, really. You see, it's just Euro US dollar really just didn't push there for now. This, if we get that bullish momentum on Euro US dollar and on gold, that could really help the US indexes and going up. We've got no other data today. We're really just got to rely on the markets now. So I'm going to hang around for the 15 minutes. Just scrolling through some charts on futures and see where everything is. Still not getting a massive push. I mean, YM's the biggest mover today, really. The Dow. Staying hydrated in front of the screens. This CFD is just not moving. Not a fan. Not a fan. I mean, indexes I usually trade. Let me just look at the Dow. Yeah. Well, that's the difference. And we can see here with the S as well. Dow's the one that's really pushing right now, and that's probably because a lot of those earnings today was a good proportion in the Dow. Change the candle, I think. The body of the candles borders even to white. The wick white. Just so I can see them a little better on the support and resistance zones, really. Okay. No, it's very muted today. Even that gold move just got a little bit sort of stopped in its tracks when it tried to break out of that zone. That's the top right chart there. Good support on the US dollar Swiss franc right now, so there's no trade there. And with no catalyst coming up today, and well, you've got to think in about 40 minutes, all systems green. Link USD. So I just got to check that. Trade. Where are we? Link. No, that's wrong. Oh, they're doing tests. Okay. That was a nice move on the Aussie dollar, US dollar from this support zone here. Came through this little 30 zone, came back to test, and then it's pushing all the way to the 60. Success. If this can break this, now we're getting a 6-star sell coming on the xBrat algo. I might look for a short here on 6S. Sorry, that's the futures. That could be a reasonably good setup for a short coming through. What's the 2.1? So 67 would be 66 would be the safe bet for a short there. Stop loss would be above the support and resistance zone again. it's around 2, so we're talking there, and then that would be probably short-term target would be there. I can adjust it. At 1.78% of the account balance on that particular trade. I think that's okay, actually. It's got a breakdown through there. I might just adjust that 1, 2 more. Okay. Just going to keep an eye on that one. So the opposite trade to that on futures on 6S is the opposite. It's an inverse correlation. So it's US dollar Swiss is coming down, 6S futures goes up. So that order would be 6S, 3 contracts, stop market. 2696526.
Order submitted.
Okay, so this one, just zoom out a little bit so you can see it. Take a picture. Again, I'm not moving screens around because I've got different resolutions on this VPS and everything like that, and I tried it and it just doesn't work right. So on 6S, I'm looking for the long. So again, we've still got the same support and resistance, but it's all flipped like an inverse universe. So we have here fresh air up as US dollar CHF is coming down. So that's my order above there for 3 contracts on that particular type of trade. And the short's still good, still printed. It keeps going on and off that 6-star buy because it needs to have a certain criteria before the candle closes. This candle closes in 6 minutes, 50 seconds. So there's still time for this yet. I need at least 5 out of 6 on the buyer's depth heat map. But I've already put the order on because I don't think it will move that fast. But just in case it absolutely just finds fresh air and drops and gravity takes hold, I wanted that order on there. My RTY trade is in profit right now, a couple $100. See, this support is really holding right now. If this comes back out of this sort of support zone right now, I will cancel both orders. You know, that's so trading's if and or logic circuit. Okay, if this happens and I get the confirmation and I get fresh air to trade into, then I'm going to trade. All logic circuit. Right now, that's turning around. So I'm not in the trade, got my stop market order on, because stop market orders are those logic circuit orders. If this price action comes back up right now and goes beyond the stop that I want for this particular price, I'll just cancel the order. Simple as that, really. So let's have a quick look. Dow is still pushing well. NASDAQ needs a little bit more juice. ES is starting to move up now. Everything should drag that RTY trade up, which is pretty cool. That's about 275 in profit right now. So this setup, I'm in my home in Europe at the moment. Until next week, I'm back in Dubai. I've got 4 screens here, 4 32-inch monitors. That's all I need here. I've got a few more in Dubai, but that's what I'm trading off right now. I've got a VPS on the top right-hand screen for my futures account. The bottom right is where this restream is, and I've got my stocks predator on there, and I'll bung on some stuff for xBrat AI. This bottom left screen that you're actually seeing right now is my sort of screen for forex, basically. The only order I've got on right now is this here. And then top left is really to do with xBrat AI and confluences and things like that. Please, guys, just check if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch or whatever you're watching it live now. Just check, go in that chat bot. If you're on, for example, if you're on YouTube, go into the chat and say hello, you know, whereabouts you are in the world, that sort of thing. You got any questions? So we're $455 profit so far on there on the RTY trade. I'll take a screenshot, hide the account details, and then bring it over. $500, sorry. Let's just hide those. Got those in. So that's the RTY trade currently at this moment in time. Stops below the support resistance zones here. I had the high to breach when we had before the data, so I was looking for a data reaction long. I had lots of bullish confirmation and everything else. So that was the setup there. It's easier doing this and dragging screens around, actually, just taking screenshots. Hey, Tam, thank you. Thank you for the comment. I'm going to try and do it 2 or 3 times a week, depending on traveling and everything else, but should be good. RTY is hanging around the $400 odd dollars now. Profits pushing okay. So what I'm going to try and do is probably midweek, I'm going to bring in some stock swing trading as well from the Stocks Predator. I'm always going to be then looking at day trading with forex and futures. So try and mix it up a little bit. Okay. RTY is doing pretty well. Now ES is moving. ES has got a little bit of fresh air to 6960. Nasdaq's just broke a recent pivot as well, and YM's pushing as well. So this is pretty good. Just want to see, this CFD is so slow to react. It's just not getting the data. I'm going to have a word with my broker. This has not moved. Unless I don't really trade indexes on the forex accounts. Unless I'm missing something, this is just not getting the data, because when I go to YM, so US 30, Dow Jones, it's moving. So there's something wrong with the data for that. But that's a really great trade. Look at this oil pit range breakout there. Boom, gone. So yes, I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit more. Okay, so with RTY, we are now $740, $785 in profit, $800 in profit now. So remember earlier on in the session, if you weren't with me, I had a losing trade on oil, okay, which meant obviously I was $600 down already. So my strategy was only ever to fill that hole, and that hole has been filled, and I'm in a slight bit of profit now. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of that, okay? Just hide the account numbers. Where are we? Yeah. May actually just that as well. Okay. Just make sure I'm not giving anything away there yet. Okay, so with futures, so initial margin is $31,000 for 3 contracts of RTY. Intraday margin is $1,500, and you can see this was my realized $715 actually from the oil trade. $800 in profit as it stands with the RTY. So in total for the day, I've wiped my feet, and the only reason I took that RTY trade really is I got all the setups, I got the signal, got the fresh air, got the confirmation, but its only use was to neutralize that loss, okay? To fill the hole, not to be greedy, fill the hole, get out, come back tomorrow, okay? And that's the way sometimes you've got to do it. You can't just have 100% win rate and win. Some days when you get a losing trade, you've really got to understand is your only priority is to fill that hole if you can that day. If not, the next day's priority is to fill that hole, not to change your risk management, not to change how much you risk. Is really to understand that that's your only strategy, is to fill that hole to begin with. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want it to take out there. I've just adjusted my stop sell limit order because if I try and do a market order, broker's not brilliant. So it's actually 144, 174. Okay, that target's filled now. So now I'll just take a quick screenshot of that again before I go, just to show you now that trade is closed with those 3 contracts. Let me just rub out the account number and everything because it's a live account, and balances and stuff. Okay, so remember I had an oil trade that was a loser. Okay, now this trade here was a textbook trade for me in that it had pushed through. My bias was bullish. I was looking for reaction to data which was above this previous pivot here, where my cursor, you probably can't see that, so I'm just going to highlight it. This pivot here, that's the wrong color, isn't it? This pivot here, you see the blue arrow, that's where I got it. Okay, my only strategy with this RTY, I did have an initial target up in this resistance zone, purely because if that was the case and it shot up there, brilliant. But in this situation, as soon as I got into the green, my realized profit, my total P&L, so I'd wiped out the loss from the oil and I was in the green for the day, just literally close it out. I didn't close it out with a market order. Every time you go with a market order, the broker has to fill where you're going to go. So now you can see, because I adjusted my take profit limit order, I did get all 3 contracts taken out at 2,555.7. Now, if I'd have done a market order to close, they would have been at different prices, and it might have been a difference between 3 and 4 ticks. Now, that's not good for me, because that $882 I made today, in fact, may have only been $40. So it was just adjusting that take profit limit order because they're easier for a broker to fill, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's it today, live trading today. It was a positive day. Okay, we had 1 winner, 1 loser. So I'm in the short on US dollar CHF. So no, the trial, the beta test is that's going on. That's closed. We will be soft launching if you're on the xBrat list, if you like. You'll get an offer in the next 2 weeks or so to come and get on the monthly subscription for the app. Yeah. I'm not going to hang around for this because this could be a very slow boat. US dollar, Japanese yen. Let's have a look at that a second. That is pushing through there as well. I'm just going to have a look at it on a confluence chart. Okay, so yeah, what we're waiting for, an xBrat algo. Just need to speak to the guys. Okay, guys, I am going to get going. I've got to do some more work, dev work with the guys. But hopefully that helped, and I'll see you later on in the week.